The best teams know their values. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Be Good Leadership. I am Ronnie Caldwell, and what we're going to be talking about today is, as always, making people and situations better. And how do you do that with a great team? Well, a great team knows and is clear about their values. So many organizations and so many teams, we might say we value respect, we value hard work, we value discipline, we value honesty, trust, what have you. But do they know what those things mean? Are they clear about their values? And do they consistently come back to speaking about, talking about, and expressing those values on a daily basis? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's start. So the first thing is to know is that the best leaders, the best organizations to work in, the best teams to be on are values-based. They are values-oriented. And what they're able to do is articulate those values very clearly. So we have to be conscious about how we project the values that we say we have. What do we stand for? What matters to us? And what do we need to live up to? These are the kinds of questions that great teams ask each other and ask of themselves and are able to define. So there's only a handful of values that can be most meaningful in any organization. And this is a common theme that you'll have in any of my videos, is that idea of clarity. And you can't have 10, 12, 13 priorities, values, and everything else at one point in time and think that the team or your people are going to be able to achieve those, express those, and make those real. So 3 to 5 values that can be expressed in practice, in your decisions, in basically how you deal with underperformance, how you attract talent and what you're looking for in people. These things influence everything that your organization decides to do, but they have to get very clear on them, right? And what do I mean by that? Is that these distinctive values that you have, are you clear about what they look like when they are expressed? Because so many of us have the values in your organization. You might think right now, the school you're working at, the organization you're working in, you might have some values up on the wall, or you might have some values that have been talked about. But the best teams have conversations about what those things look like. And the benefit of having these distinctive values is, and when the team is clear on what those values are and what they look like in terms of expression, they also let people know what are our non-negotiables. What are the things that we don't cut corners on? What are the things that we make sure we're coming back to over and over again and that we see in our culture? And if you watched my video on change leadership, you know how important norms are. And so often norms of a culture should be tied to and should be expressions of the values of that particular culture. So to give some examples, in a private sector place, if there's a value, if we say our value is service, customer service, okay? So customer service, how does articulate that, right? What does that look like on a daily basis? Like, what does customer service look like? When certain things are done, does it mean that whatever decisions we're making, we are considering the customer experience, that we're considering and trying to look at how we can do better based on customer feedback? What was the experience they had with our services? Are our services meeting their needs? These things are the questions that come back to if it's an actual real value. And even in the way that you conduct your meetings, you know that that's a question every single time. And it's also a consideration. You want to know if your talent you bring into your organization is already considering, or what do they think? What is their idea when they think of customer service? What's their idea of that? And does it align with your organization? And when you do that, when you start to become clear on a value like that, you also are able to begin to empower your people and give them autonomy, because they can start to make decisions without leadership because we're on the same page in terms of our values. So I want to give some examples. For instance, when it comes to respect, respect is a common one you'll see among schools or in organizations. We value respect. Okay, how? Respect, great. But if we're working in a diverse organization, if we're working with people from different countries, people who are raised with different parents, raised from different religions, different lived experiences, that word respect can have a lot of different meanings. But what does it mean here? What does it mean in an organization? So, does it mean how we come together as a team? Does respect mean that when we come together, we acknowledge each other? That basically respect is in our organization, if we see each other, we make sure we acknowledge each other in that hallway. That we make it that's just what we do. We make sure we acknowledge each other as much as possible. That we acknowledge each other's contributions. When we come together in meetings, we want to make it a habit of basically giving some third-party praise or first-person praise to people to say, hey, man, that what you did last week in that particular meeting, that presentation you gave, that was top-notch, and here's why. Do we want to make it a habit that that's how we show respect to each other, that we listen to each other, we value each other's contribution? This is the expression of that respect. And what does it look like here? It's the same thing when it comes to, well, we value relationships. People overuse the term family. I don't really like to use the word family when it comes to organization, but if we say that we value relationships, right? We value each other. Okay, so what does that look like? Does that mean there's an organization that I've worked with before that in their lounge, where people eat lunch, there's no cell phone policy. No device policy. So basically, if you go into the lounge, you have to be eating lunch. And what that does is that lounge is full of people talking. There's people connect in there, right? There's more of a, so this is just an expression. Some people would say, oh God, I would hate that. But these people love it, right? It makes for a place where people connect with each other on a personal level. And then, of course, it leads to professional conversations as well because it's at work. But that's just an example of why how they show that relationships are important to them. They make spaces for people just to get together to talk informally, right? And so when these things happen and when you've established your values, I see the main thing that happens in organizations and often teams is that they'll set some values, they'll put them up on the wall, but they don't spend enough time talking about what they look like in expression. And it has to be a norm. It has to be something that everyone begins to follow, that everyone begins to practice, and that people hold each other accountable for. The team leader decides. Oftentimes values are not something that you want to leave to a democratic process. Oftentimes the leader decides, hey, this is the kind of culture I want to create. But the expression of the values and what happens every day, that's when we talk about and we get clear on this is what it's going to mean for us. This is what we do. And so what are your values? How do you express them? Have you guys talked enough about that as a team? Have you talked enough about that in your organization? And this knowledge will lead to wise autonomy, as I call it. Is when we've done this, the best teams, when they have it, they know there's a particular way of doing things, and we can trust that our teammates, because we know what these values look like, we can trust that when we're on our own, when the leadership is not around, the decision we'll make will be in line with what they would have wanted, because all of us have a clear idea of what our values are and what they look like in practice. There's a particular way of doing things, and the way that we do things, the norms that we've set, are all connected to the values that we say we have. So often, you ask yourself as a leader, as a team, right now, if you're watching this, what is your way of doing things? What is your company's way of doing things? If a new person came in over time, what would they say about, is it clear that they do things a particular way here? And why it's so important is because when it comes to accountability, when it comes to building strong culture, the leader can start it, but the leader can't finish it. The leader can start the process. The leader can try his best to hold people accountable, but at the end of the day, the team members are who hold each other accountable. The team members in the best teams, in the best organizations, the boss doesn't have to say much, because every person believes in the values, has agreed upon them, knows what they are, and will remind each other, hey man, this is what we're doing. Hey man, this is not the way we do things. You know that. What's going on? How can I help? It becomes sort of an honor code. It becomes an honor code, and the players begin to lead the team. And every great coach, every great leader, great general, great what have you, great parent has established a culture within their family, within their team, within their unit, within their department, within their organization, where each person holds each other accountable. That's what the best teams do. And they can do it because they've gotten very clear on their values. Okay, I hope this has added value to you. And if you feel like it can add value to someone else in your organization or in another organization or just a friend, please share it. And please continue to engage with us at begoodleadership.org. Keep following the channel. And most of all, be good.